Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with the Soul. I'm Rita Hickman, and I'm a body mind expert and a shiatsu massage therapist in the Chicagoland area. And I got into this business, I got into body mind work because when I hit 30, I had so many challenges physically, mentally, emotionally that I knew I had to figure things out. And good morning, Kathy. And that started me on a path to really wanting to know what would put me in a good space. You know, when I was a kid, I had some hard stuff happen to me. And actually, I really think it's the best thing that could have happened. And the reason being is because I had to learn then how to cope naturally, how to live naturally with high levels of stress, with being freaked out. I didn't have the options to, take a lot of shortcuts of, caffeine or alcohol or all the other things that we use. Hi, just a quick break. My sister is on. Good morning, Janae. I'm so happy to see you, and thanks for being here today. Sorry that you're not feeling well, but I'm certainly glad that you're able to visit with me while I do one of my live streams. So anyways, when I was a kid, I had to figure out natural ways inside of myself to cope with life and all the things that life brings you. And because of that, that really was when my path started of how do we do this stuff naturally. And when I hit 30, I knew I needed to understand even a higher level, and that's when I started studying soulmates, and that's when I started understanding how relationships move you in a positive direction. And then over the years after that, I learned what I like to call our biohacks, which are ways that we can hack into our body mind and hack into our subconscious and make real changes in our life and real changes in how our nervous system works, our triggers, our memories, how we can use what we have, the miracle of being alive and the miracle of the body and the body mind to take us in a great direction. And fortunately for me, what that's done is it's allowed me to keep spiraling up. So when I look at people around me, friends and loved ones, and I watch how as they get older, their life gets more difficult. I watch as I get older that my life keeps getting better and better and more amazing. I feel better inside of myself emotionally, in my body, in my career, in my business. And it's so much fun to see all of these things that I've spent a lifetime passionate about, understanding how we work, and really having a positive impact on me and having a huge positive impact on everybody that I work with. All of the clients that I work with, everybody on the live streams, the meditations I've put out, people all over the world. And it's so exciting. So I'm going to introduce you to another one of my biohacks, which I ran into when I was in massage school. When I needed a life change and I needed a new career, I was in governmental organizations. When I needed a new career, I started to look around at what my options were, who I was. Finally, for the first time, I was making a decision based on who I was as a person, as a human being, and not just what everybody had told me the direction I should go. So I pulled out my tarot cards, which I didn't know anything about at the time. And I kept doing spreads on all of these jobs, all of these options I could take. And massage therapist kept coming up with like really big, important cards. And I thought, okay, I have to pay attention to this. And so I started looking for massage schools, and I found this great, quirky little massage school in Chicago called Chicago College of Healing Arts. And, that has a story all behind it, the synchronicity of how I ended up there. But while I was in this massage school, they focused on a couple different things, and especially body-mind therapies and ways of looking at the world that were very unique and had been around for thousands of years and been proven and had their roots in how we really worked. And one of the things that we learned or worked with was something called Feldenkrais. And when I saw that on the curriculum, I remembered that when I had been in college, I had needed credits for my music minor. Oddly enough, I had a vocal music minor, and I needed a couple credits. And I saw this class called Feldenkrais, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. It's a body-mind class that I can take that'll give me credits for my minor. I'm in. I'll do it. And so I took a semester of Feldenkrais and forgot about it, even though it was kind of cool. And then I ran into it again in my massage school. And so I'd already had an intro into it. I already understood it. And this time I fell in love with it. Feldenkrais is a body-mind therapy that works with your nervous system and rewires your nervous system. It rewires how you move through the world, how you think about the world, how you engage with the world. And it's so much fun. And it's anybody, absolutely anybody can do it. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it so much that I teach classes on it, and it's part of my therapy every single time I work with somebody. It's a foundation of what I do. So bad habits, as you know, are habits that we've developed because for the time being they've worked. They're things that help us feel better in the moment, and they're easy and convenient and familiar. And so we keep doing them because they're more comfortable than the unknown. And but the way to break out of a bad habit is to expand your mind, is to get a broader perspective of the situation and to add things into your life rather than take them away. A lot of people think you need to break bad habits by getting rid of them. And in reality, your bad habits are there in order to help you cope with what's going on in life. And so if you start getting the things that you actually need that are required to stay happy and healthy and functional, whether it be hydration, whether it be connection, whether it be community. Hi, nice to see you. Is that Ludmila? That's a beautiful name. So when you start expanding your world so that you get things that fill your well, things that actually meet your needs, then your bad habits naturally go away. They did this great research on drug addiction and on how people coming back from the war many times would be addicted to morphine or addicted to other painkillers. And the people that were able to put that drug down were the ones who came back and had healthy lives. They had healthy families, they had community, they had, their body was in a good place. They ate healthy food, stayed hydrated. And they did the same thing with rats, I believe, of cocaine-filled water and regular water. What they found is when you get your needs met, then you don't need or crave or desire this fix, this thing that makes you feel better. And so Feldenkrais is one of the ways that people start looking at the world in a new way. It gets us out of our box and able to look at the unknown and explore the unknown in a really safe environment. And so when you break out of your comfort zone, when you look at the world differently, your bad habits start to drop away because you don't need them. You aren't dependent upon them and only them in order to survive. So, or cope with what's going on. So really, breaking your bad habits is about expanding your box of tools. It's about finding all the great things that you can use, and so you keep everything in balance. It doesn't mean that that you never have a glass of wine ever again. It means that you're not dependent upon the wine to feel better because you have all of these other things in place. Now, the problem about expanding our world is that it's pretty scary. And it's got some strong brain connections and body-mind connections. And so the pathways are like superhighways. Why wouldn't we go the direction? We've always gone that direction. And why do anything different? Because this is working. The problem is when your habits start not working and they start creating lots of problems for you, that's when we start to need to look at changing things. So Feldenkrais is based on work that a gentleman named Moshe Feldenkrais did, I believe in the early 1900s. And his wife was a pediatrician. And he learned about how people, human beings, grow and develop and move by watching the children that his wife worked with. He'd watch how they learned how to crawl and walk. And this was way before research on mirror cells and visualization, way before that sort of research on how the brain actually worked. And so he created these theories, which have since been proven pretty well, about how we learn as people. How does the brain and the body-mind actually learn things? So the idea is, when we don't have experience with something, then the first time we experience it, it makes an impact on us. It's novel. And it like plants a seed in our subconscious. Then our subconscious takes over and we start looking around in the world for things that will validate this new idea. And you've seen it yourself. When you're diagnosed with something new, when a family member is diagnosed with something new, when you hear a new term, suddenly you're very curious about it. And your subconscious is noticing things around you. You notice it in signs, you notice it in advertising, you notice it in conversations. You're like, hey, this is everywhere. What's going on? So it's your subconscious filtering, all of this other stuff out and finding an interest and a curiosity in this novel thing that planted itself in your brain and in your mind body. And so this is how a new belief is born. And in actuality, you don't even have to be out of the womb for new beliefs to be developed. It can be associations and experiences that we have. So this stuff is pretty deeply ingrained, and you can't just change a belief because you decide you want to. You have to make actual choices which give you new experiences, which create new neural connections, which then create the new belief. And when you have the new belief, then you live differently. You live your life differently. And so your life changes. So this is how Moshe Feldenkrais decided how he was going to change patterns and habits of movement and thinking that people had had for decades. And it starts with finding a relaxed, comfortable space. And in this relaxed, comfortable space where you're not going to be bothered, where you are able to listen to what you're thinking and what you're feeling. There's, no place to hide, no place to go. You give yourself permission for this period of time that you're going to do this work. You find this comfortable space, and he's got scripts where you are doing movements and having thoughts and observing how your body works so that it can learn that the reality that you thought was true isn't necessarily true. So let's say you broke your arm when you were a kid. And after you broke your arm, you had a cast on it and you couldn't move it and you kept it close to your body and it healed, and then you took the cast off, but you never quite had the same range of motion that you did. That's because your nervous system held on to the memory of protection. When something hurts, we don't want to think about it. We go someplace else in our mind. We go someplace else with our thoughts. And we take our consciousness out of that part of our body, that part of our brain. We focus on something else. And whatever we focus on is where blood, nervous system signals, white blood cells, everything will go. So, but if we're focusing on something else, that's where all the healing mechanisms go. That's where our body says, oh, you want me to focus on this? Okay, I'll do that. Feldenkrais works on getting your consciousness back into your body so it can learn a new pattern, a new habit. So if your arm was sucked in because it was broken and you never brought your consciousness back into your body, you never really thought about how it moved and loved it and paid attention to it and focused on it, your body never reconnected to it. It was always kind of like offline. So your arm was offline doing whatever it does on the last software pattern that it had, and it never learned that it was really healed and that it could do something different. And that's cool for a while, because then you continue on with this pattern and, it's fine. Your arm doesn't move very well. But eventually, that pattern starts to cause problems in other things. Now maybe you need a, rotator cuff sort of issue, or now you start getting, tendonitis in your elbow, or you've got carpal tunnel, or things along those lines. Or maybe the other arm starts getting overused because you just don't use this arm, you use the other one. So when you take your consciousness out of something, it stays stuck in the last memory that it had. Feldenkrais brings your consciousness back in. So you're in this safe place, and you are bringing your consciousness back into your body. And the way to feel your body is to do things with your body. Now, the neat thing is, to do nervous system work, you don't actually have to physically do it. And research has backed this up. I love the direction the scientific community has gone with body-mind science. It's proven that your nervous system will still react even if you just visualize something. Have you ever, laid in bed or laid on the couch and visualized yourself doing something, maybe dancing or walking or something along those lines? And you could still feel your body twitch and move, even though it wasn't really dancing, it wasn't really moving. You could still feel it. It's as if your body and your nervous system were doing it, even if you didn't physically doing it, even if you weren't physically doing it. So Feldenkrais has a lot of these elements. It's not about working with the muscles and the bones and, oh, I can't move my arm. It's about teaching your nervous system that your arm can move, that it can do things, that it doesn't need to protect itself. So you get into that safe space. You get your conscious mind out of the way, the gatekeeper that guards everything, your guard dog that says, no, we can't do this, we already know this. You get that out of the way, and then you start having new movements. And these movements don't have to be big. In fact, the more subtle they are, the better. The quieter they are, that means that it doesn't awaken your conscious mind and say, hey, this is a problem, we need to do something about this. So it's like you need to sneak past your guards. You have to sneak past the things that keep you on high alert. And that's why the movements are so small. So you do these new movements in your head, in your body, without necessarily moving your body. Feldenkrais does go into physical body movements, where you're actually doing things, but the focus is on paying attention. And in your mind's eye, in your body mind, doing these new activities that maybe you could never do before. And so on a neural system level, on a nervous system level, on a body-mind level, you are doing these things. And it says, oh, you want me to do this? And so it starts creating these new connections, disconnecting from the old patterns and reconnecting to new patterns, even without moving a muscle. It starts saying, oh, you mean we think we can do this? This is possible? Well, let's give it a shot. And so your mind starts creating the foundation. And that's what we do in our dreams sometime too. That's why our body's paralyzed, so we can work things out in our dreams, physically, mentally, emotionally, without actually working it out in our real life and screwing up our real life. So your body-mind starts saying, we can do this. Wow, this is interesting and this is cool. And then when it starts believing, having a new belief that this is possible, and it's got the foundation in there, the ability to do it, now you're able to do it. If we just said, after you'd broken your arm and it wasn't moving, and 30 years later it's still kind of sucked into your body and doesn't have good range of motion, if we said, okay, move your arm, you wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't be able to reach for things. You wouldn't be able to, do the stretches and the movements and the dances that you'd love to do. Wouldn't be possible. But when you quiet down your conscious mind and you bring your consciousness into the parts of you that you had previously ignored or forgotten about, then it starts to build those connections, and then you start to be able to move. And sometimes this even takes minutes. It doesn't take very long because the body's ready for it. So what does this have to do with bad habits? Our bad habits are patterns, mind-body patterns and thought patterns that we've had for a long time, that we've just ignored and gone on our merry way. But these these bad habits and patterns are starting to catch up to us, and we need to do something different. When you open your mind to the fact that something new is possible, and when you start doing things which you thought were impossible in your visualization, in your body mind, it opens up your mind to curiosity. And now you start walking through the world asking yourself, is this really the answer? Is this really the way that I want to do things? Is there another solution? I wonder what the solution is. And so now you go from your narrow box, the pathway that you've tread for, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, your habits, and you start creating new little offshoots, new little highways and railroad, paths and things like that. You start creating new connections in your body when you are curious. And that curiosity and that openness and trying new things and learning how to get your needs met in different new ways than you never did before, your bad habits start to fall away because you don't need them anymore. Because now, instead of seeing the world in a tiny little box, instead of having your world spiral down and get smaller and smaller, you're opening up your mind and letting your world get bigger and bigger. And the bigger your world gets, the more you understand about who you are and how you work and how relationships work and your body-mind works, then the better your life gets. Because you're able to not be dependent on the things that don't work for you. You can now just use them as enjoyment or recreation every so often, instead of leaning on them as a crutch in order to function and stay sane and stay stable. So Feldenkrais taps right into Asian medicine of you can use the body to change your beliefs. You can use the body to change your emotions and to expand and spiritually grow as a person. And so these micro movements, these new experiences of your body translate to new experiences in your mind and in your world. And when you do that, life just gets better because you get better, because now you know more, and you can never go back to those old patterns and habits because you know too much. Maybe you thought the only way you could feel better was when you came home at the end of the day to have a glass or two of wine. Maybe that's the only thing that really worked for you. And then you started to learn that, you mean if I take a walk when I come home instead, I feel even better than if I drank a glass of wine? Wow, who knew? And if I listen to music that I just love, it makes it even higher than that. And now I'm having fun and I enjoy it. And I say, why would I go back to this old habit that was making me feel sick and tired and dehydrated and give me hangovers? Why would I go back to that? It's not necessary because I have a tool that works 1,000 times better. So this is how we break our bad habits. We have new experiences that get past our conscious mind, and we start becoming curious, and we start understanding that the world is so much bigger than we ever thought. And if we're looking for a solution, it's probably out there. We aren't trapped, and the world just gets bigger and brighter all the time. And you notice your bad habits, they just sort of fall away. So that is my hack today on changing some of your bad habits. Feldenkrais is one of my favorite tools. As I said, I use it all the time. I teach classes, I use it in my bodywork practice, and I use it in my life, not just the physical pieces, but also the philosophy of it. So if you'd love more biohacks on how to get rid of pain and bad habits and deal with relationships and understand how the body-mind works so that you can use it to your advantage instead of thinking that your body's falling apart and you're getting old and you're stuck and nothing works, go to inspiremassage.com and sign up for our emails, because even just listening to these videos is what causes the change. It plants the seed because you're quieting, you're curious, and new ideas are coming in. And when you have new ideas, your body naturally knows what to do. And what it does is it creates change without you even trying. It's so much fun and so exciting. So I hope to see you again on Monday. I'll be sending out emails over the weekends just to keep everybody in connection. I hope you drank your water today. I hope you've been, eating fiber and getting some vitamin D and sunshine so that you can start feeling better all the time. And I look forward to Monday. Have a great day. Bye.